The reason Kevin Costner agreed to Yellowstone is what made the Taylor Sheridan Western so good. Kevin Costner was a big reason why Yellowstone was so great, but what motivated him to agree to be a part of the series is also why it was a triumph. The TV show created by Taylor Sheridan and John Linson debuted in 2018 and ran for 5 seasons and 53 episodes before ending in 2024. Of course, some parts of Yellowstone were better than others. Still, the series was a massive success overall, as it kickstarted a franchise, was beloved by millions, and revitalized the Western genre. So Costner made a good choice when he signed on to play John Dutton IA. Unfortunately, Costner left Yellowstone ahead of Season 5, Part 2, unofficially resulting in its cancellation. The show simply doesn't work without the actor and his iconic character, as witnessed by its final 6 episodes. Nevertheless, Yellowstone remains one of the most influential, game-changing TV series of late, and Costner recognized its greatness before it even premiered. During an interview with Variety in 2022, Kevin Costner explained why he said yes to Yellowstone. His reasoning is exactly why the show was so successful and why its legacy will live on even after its ending. Costner revealed that he was captivated by Yellowstone after reading the pilot script for the first time. He told Variety, "Yellowstone's raw and dysfunctional authenticity is why it appealed to so many. It wasn't a glorified depiction of the West, nor did it rely on stereotypical Western tropes and themes to drive its story and define its characters. Instead, Yellowstone modernized the Western genre, making it more relatable, to a certain degree, as the show was still a drama, after all, and had to be entertaining. So the reason why Costner signed on to play John Dutton II is also why the series thrived as much as it did." In the wake of Yellowstone's accomplishments, more Western TV shows and movies are being made. Streaming services and production companies are attempting to recreate the success of Taylor Sheridan's series, proving how it has completely reinvented Westerns in the modern age. The Paramount Network show combined complex characters and family dynamics with classic themes, guaranteeing that it could appeal to various audiences. Ultimately, if it weren't for the series, it's unclear what state the Western genre would be in. However, thanks to Yellowstone, the genre is experiencing a resurgence in Hollywood. When Yellowstone premiered in 2018, few could have predicted the cultural juggernaut it would become. Part family drama, part political thriller, and part rugged Western, the series delivered a bold, unflinching portrayal of life and legacy on the American frontier. But at the heart of its magnetic pull was one man, Kevin Costner. And while the show had the benefit of Taylor Sheridan's fierce writing and a scenic Montana backdrop, it was Costner's specific reason for agreeing to the project that helped transform Yellowstone into a phenomenon. For Kevin Costner, the decision to join Yellowstone wasn't made lightly. At that stage in his career, Costner was already a Hollywood legend. He had won Academy Awards, starred in some of the most iconic films of the late 20th century: Dances with Wolves, The Bodyguard, Field of Dreams, Wyatt Earp, and become one of the most recognized faces associated with Westerns and Americana. He didn't need a TV show. In fact, television had never been his domain. So why this show? The answer is both simple and profound: authenticity. Taylor Sheridan pitched Yellowstone not as just another modern drama or prestige series. It was, in his words, a Shakespearean family saga set against the rawness of the modern West. But what really hooked Costner was Sheridan's commitment to truth. Sheridan wasn't interested in a watered-down, romanticized version of ranch life. He wanted grit. He wanted to show the cost of legacy, the battles over land, the erosion of tradition in the face of progress. And Costner, a man who had long championed the American West through his roles, and even in his personal life, saw this as an opportunity to contribute to a narrative that mattered. Costner didn't want to play just any cowboy. He wanted to inhabit a man who felt real, flawed, proud, hardened by the land he protected. John Dutton wasn't a hero. He was a patriarch burdened by responsibility, compromised by loyalty, and shaped by generations of sacrifice. That kind of complexity was rare in a role, especially in television, and Costner saw in it the chance to do something more than entertain. He could challenge the audience to confront the American dream in its rawest form. Sheridan promised Costner that Yellowstone would be a series that didn't flinch. No sugarcoating, no pretty endings. Just the messy truth of inheritance, power, and survival. That was the deal. And Costner, impressed by Sheridan's vision and literary ambition, signed on. That commitment to authenticity radiated from Costner's performance from day one. When he rode out onto the Dutton Ranch in the pilot episode, it wasn't just a scene. It felt like a reclamation of Western storytelling. Costner's every glare, word, and movement carried the weight of a man tethered to the land he loved and the legacy he feared losing. He didn't have to act like a rancher, he was one. That grounded presence became the show's anchor. And make no mistake, without Kevin Costner's involvement, Yellowstone may never have been taken seriously in its early days. His name brought credibility to a network that was still finding its identity. Paramount Network was relatively new, and it signaled to audiences that this wasn't just another cable drama. It was a prestige Western with the soul of a film and the swagger of classic Americana. More than that, Costner's decision set a tone on set. He was famously involved, invested, and respectful of the material. He brought decades of storytelling wisdom with him, challenging scenes to feel earned, making sure his character's motivations rang true. Sheridan has said that Costner fought for the soul of the show, and that meant holding the line on character-driven plots instead of falling into melodrama or sensationalism. What emerged from that creative respect was a Western that didn't just entertain, it resonated. Yellowstone spoke to rural Americans who felt forgotten, to families fractured by time and duty, to individuals caught in the crosshairs of history. The show's portrayal of land as both sanctuary and battleground, of family as both refuge and prison, became themes that transcended genre. It also helped launch a modern Western renaissance. After Yellowstone's success, Sheridan created spin-offs like 1883 and 1923, both of which continued the Dutton saga with their own star-studded casts. Yet in each new iteration, the original's DNA, largely shaped by Costner's interpretation of John Dutton, remained intact, a commitment to layered characters, sweeping landscapes, and stories that refused to flinch. As the series grew into a franchise, Costner's presence became even more significant. He didn't just play John Dutton, he became the symbol of what the Dutton name meant. His performance added gravitas, a sense of myth and melancholy that underscored every decision, every betrayal, every loss. When he stared out over the Montana hills, audiences could see the weight of generations in his eyes. That emotional depth is what made Yellowstone more than just a show about cattle and cowboys. It was a show about America, past and present. And Costner, drawn in by the promise of truth over gloss, delivered a portrayal that will likely stand as one of the great TV performances of his career. In the end, it wasn't the money, the fame, or even the setting that convinced Kevin Costner to do Yellowstone. It was the chance to tell a real story, to peel back the myths of the West and find the marrow underneath. That reason, authenticity, artistic integrity, and reverence for the land is what elevated Yellowstone from good to great. And that in many ways is what made Taylor Sheridan's Western not just a success, but a legacy.